Hello! Do you know what children don't like? Japanese horror games. It might be obvious to you, but it wasn't to our family friend, because as a gift for my 8th birthday, he gave me a copy of a horror game called Siren. Just the cover art of this box was so scary to the 8-year-old me that I literally did not ever play it. I only partially saw my cousins play Siren, but was too scared to actually sit and watch. You might think I'm exaggerating, but just the ambience of the title screen was scary enough for me to soil my pants. Pretty scary stuff, right? Me peeing my pants was normal, right? Pee your pants. Pee your pants now! All these years later, I kept up with all the horror franchises. Silent Hill, Resident Evil, Outlast, but Siren? Not so much. I actually forgot that this game even existed until I found that damn disc while cleaning the attic. Look at this, it's in mint condition, because like I said, I never played it. But why did Siren fly under the radar? Why does no one talk about it? And why did it become the lost child of history? Well, boys and girls, let's talk about Siren.
The Forbidden Siren.
Believe it or not, Siren, or Forbidden Siren if you're outside of North America, was actually developed by Team Silent at Konami, the same guys who gave us the first 4 Silent Hill games. But then Konami sold off the Silent Hill franchise to the West and Team Silent was out of a paycheck. The director of Silent Hill, named Keiichiro Toyama, assembled a new team called Team Siren. Ah, get it? His last team was called Silent and this one is called Siren. Pretty clever, huh? Team Siren released the Forbidden Siren in 2003 as a PlayStation exclusive. So suck on that, Microsoft fanboys. Stick to your Halos. You will never get to play this 22-year-old horror game that no one cares about. Just by looking at it, it's very obvious that Siren was made by the same guy who made Silent Hill. The fog, the rain, the darkness, constant low field of vision, the terrifying ambience and the wonky melee combat. But this time, Keiichiro had his own previous work to learn from and improve Siren over Silent Hill. And in some ways, it did. For example, this game controls similar to Silent Hill, but it's a lot easier to get a grip on. It ditches the tank controls on fixed camera angles, only using it sometimes to highlight an important item that you have to pick up in the room. But in some other ways, it's not better than Silent Hill. One of the common criticisms you'll find of Siren online is the quote-unquote passable voice acting. You see, the voice acting in Silent Hill 2 is a very controversial topic. Some people say that the actors were intentionally instructed to not sound like normal people having a conversation in order to enter the uncanny valley. Others think that it's just an excuse for the game's voice acting being terrible. I even came across 2 people arguing about this topic on Reddit, and then it kinda got heated, and then it escalated into some completely unrelated stuff. Anyways, the voice acting in Siren, however, is not controversial. It's just bad. It's not absolute trash, but it's not really something that you would label as good.
Oh, an earthquake!
Oh no, an earthquake. Oh, whatever will we do? I think it would have been better if the game was never translated and just given English subtitles, but whatever. Siren, however, did enter the uncanny valley in another way by its terrifying facial capture of the characters. They used computers to scan and import the faces of real people on the characters, which makes them look terrifying. These photorealistic faces on the PlayStation 2 graphic models just doesn't look right. The faces don't actually have motion for the most part. It feels like they kinda transition into each other, and that was intentional. They wanted to make you feel uncomfortable and for the child me to soil my pants. Although Siren was successful enough to get a sequel and later on a remake, both of which we will talk about in their own videos, the game did not perform as good as the team expected it to. Players complain that the game is way too difficult to be enjoyable. Well, I can assure you that the level of difficulty in Siren puts From Software to shame. Don't believe me? Why don't we pop this bad boy in the disc tray and see what it has to offer? The Forbidden Siren takes place in a very traditional Japanese village called Hanoda, which hosts an exclusive society. Their cult leader, a woman named Hisako Yao, is trying to resurrect an ancient supernatural being called the Tatsushi through rituals. Who, I'm dead serious, was an alien that crashed in Hanoda, and people of the village ate it because they thought it was a fish.
I tell you what though, folks, that's bloody nice.
And it got so angry that it cursed one of them, which just happened to be Hisako Yao. The siren in the title is the calling of the Tatsushi, and it's forbidden because, well, you shouldn't summon ancient supernatural beings, man. That's not cool. The ritual flows the village between time and space, separated from the rest of the world by surrounding it with pools of red water. It's not blood, it's just red water. The ritual also brings the dead back to life in the form of shibitos, these reanimated corpses. They aren't zombies because they still carry some of the memories of the original person with them, but the Shibito curse doesn't allow them to act on it. Shibitos are the army of the Tatsushi that are preparing Hanoda for its resurrection by building his nest and eliminating or converting any humans left into themselves. The longer these Shibitos are exposed to the curse, the more deformed they become. At first, they're still physically functioning like a human would, then eventually they start crawling, and at the very end they function like spiders, making webs and climbing them. We follow a cast of characters in the village, 10 of which are playable and 8 are not. They each follow different goals. Some want to escape Hanoda, some want to figure out what is going on, and some want to fix everything. Here, let me read through the bios of the playable characters for you. Kiyoya Soda is a 16-year-old student who is interested in paranormal activities, so he stops by the village to investigate a mass murder that took place there years ago. But his bike breaks, so now he's stuck there.
Excuse me? Are you okay?
Bro, you just ran him over intentionally. What do you mean if you are okay? Do you even want him to be okay? Taimen Takeshi is a 32-year-old professor who was raised in Hanoda but left the village later on. After discovering his parents were killed, he returns to Hanoda to discover the truth behind the case. He also, for whatever reason, returns with one of his students named Yoriko Ano, who apparently has a crush on him.
Why is this happening?
This is exactly why I told you not to come.
Professor, we need to find the villagers. They must be panicking.
Please shut up.
Reiko Takaro is a 29-year-old teacher whose daughter was drowned 2 years before the events of the game. At the start, she's stuck in school with one of her students named Harumi Yomada, who lost her parents when lightning struck their car. These two are both playable characters. They obviously have a mother-daughter relationship with one another, even though the game never outright clears that like The Last of Us did with Ellie and Joel. Mrs. Dakato, wah, wah, I need help, Mrs. Dakato. Shut up, I can't leave her for f***ing 2 minutes, man. Shiro Miyara is a 27-year-old doctor who owns a clinic in Hanoda. Unlike the majority, this guy isn't afraid of the Shibito. He seems to be more concerned about what is going on in the village. He has that cool anime character personality that isn't afraid of anything.
Doctor! My sister! My sister!
Thank you. You saved us. Don't worry about it. You're not used to dealing with this, Makino.
Wow, Shiro, that's a very skibbity alpha sigma wolf of you. Shiro's twin, who was raised by another family, is Kei Makino, a 27-year-old priest. See what they did there? They're twins, but they directly oppose each other. Naoko Mihama is a 28-year-old reporter who is apparently a famous celebrity in Japan. She comes to Hanoda to shoot a story when her crew just disappears. For that description, she's actually very brave. Because these types of characters are always the useless clumsy girls that have zero skills or survival instincts and keep whining.
Matt, you've got to do something right now. What are you waiting for?
I'm thinking! Let me think!
Don't think, you idiot!
Please shut up.
But you never see her complain or even express fear in response to these bloody, deformed, spiderish, reanimated corpses that want to kill her.
I did it.
Akira Shimura is a 70-year-old hunter who actually knows about the cult and their ritual in Hanoda. You would think he doesn't want to get involved, but he lost his wife and son 27 years before to unknown reasons. He never got over it and always blamed it on himself. Now, he decides to stop the Tatsushi resurrection as a good deed to become even with himself. Oh no, wait. Oh, come on! What, does the curse of Shibido turn you into a professional sniper as well? Tomoko Maeda is a 14-year-old girl who ran away from home when she found out that her parents read her diary. And unlucky for her, she got trapped into Hanoda with the ongoing Shibido curse. Okay, yeah, they got a little bit lazy with this one, but whatever. Risa Randa, who is a girl. She is the most uninteresting out of the cast. She just came back to Hanoda to meet her twin sister but got stuck here. You know, Team Siren, you don't have to keep adding characters if you can't make them interesting. Because now, we have characters who are trying to stop the resurrection of an interdimensional being because they could never get over the loss of their family, next to the characters that are just like,
"Oh, I'm sad. Mommy read my diary."
The story isn't so straightforward though. It's actually told in a non-linear order. You're supposed to play the chapters in their random order and then put together what happened yourself. Because what else would you do with your precious time? You get the gist. It's pretty much an early supermassive game, like Until Dawn. We have a cast of people, each unique to their own, and they're trapped in an environment away from society where everything can kill them. Unlike Until Dawn, however, this time we actually have gameplay. Like I said before, Siren is a very unforgiving game. There's a reason we have people calling it the most unforgiving horror game ever made, because this game's expectations of the player are just insane. Siren has a very unique mechanic called sidejacking. The Shibido curse has given people present in the village the power of clairvoyance, meaning they can see through the eyes of other beings. It's like me jacking your eyesight right now. Pressing L2 will enter sidejack mode, and from there you have to rotate the stick to find other living creatures and look through their eyes. It's like a radio handle and you have to get the right frequency. That little cross is supposed to be you. In a shocking twist, the game is actually helpful this time and lets you bind 4 sights to the 4 shape buttons on your controller, so you can just switch to them instantly instead of finding them. This is a very important feature because the position of each sight changes on where you're standing and which direction you're facing. Oh my god! Now you might be thinking,
yeah, sidejacking is very unique, but why do we even need it? Surely the game has a better way of letting us find and take down our enemies.
No, it doesn't. This is all you get. Without sidejacking, you'll have no idea of what's going on. The game's map doesn't actually tell you where you are. It gives you landmarks and you're expected to figure it out based on your surroundings. Same goes for finding Shibidos. They're almost always near a landmark, which if you're smart, like me, you can use to figure out the area they might be in. And the reason which makes it so important for you to know where the Shibido are at all times is because Siren for the most part is a stealth game. You need to know where the Shibido are because most of the time you have to avoid getting spotted by them, since these so-called corpses come packed with weapons, mostly guns. This is so And here we are making fun of the Americans when guns are so common in Japan, even dead people carry one on them. I've always found the idea of zombie-esque creatures using guns ridiculous. I'm sure you can make them threatening without it. Siren, at times, is just way over the top with armed Shibidos. There is this one level where you have to cross a bridge with multiple different sniper Shibidos patrolling it with their scopes on watchtowers. Man, what the f***? Is this a horror game or a Wolfenstein stealth mission. Like I said, the game jumps between characters, and surprisingly, they are not just reskins of each other. They got major differences. The most obvious one being their weapon. Some characters start off the chapter with a weapon, some find it throughout the level, and some never get any. The melee combat is not that different from Silent Hill. It's not very fleshed out, but it doesn't have to be. It's a horror game, not a hack and slash. As for guns, we have the revolver, which just like the melee, you auto-aim and fire with it. Surprisingly, if you turn on your flashlight while firing, your character becomes more accurate. Without it, these folks aim worse than I do in Rainbow Six Siege. We also have the rifle, which I am in a love-hate relationship with. The rifle is perfect for taking down shabitos in a long distance, if you do a little sidejacking and be accurate with your shots. And that's a big if. Being accurate with this thing is harder than driving while blindfolded. The crosshair gravitates towards the center of the screen and you have to keep it pulled in the perfect spot before taking the shot, which just walks on your nerves because the joystick is very sensitive. Before we go on, I'm going to make a very controversial statement. Please don't beat me with a stick. Giving the player weapons in a horror game makes the enemies not scary. Therefore, I think instead of giving the player a literal weapon, we should give them tools that grants them a form of advantage if they use it properly. I think a pretty good example of this is Outlast, where you don't have a weapon, but you do have a video camera as your tool. Learn to use it and it'll make life easier.
Little pig.
What? I said easier, not easy. Because even here, in Siren, the moment I realized that my character has a weapon, the level instantly became 100 times easier in my mind. I wouldn't even try to hide from the shabitos. I would hunt them down and beat them. I even challenged 2 of them in a 2v1 as Kyoyo and killed both. Although they can't actually die, they only get knocked out for a while, but it's still long enough to get most of the objectives done. And even though the game is mostly stealth-centered, some chapters are literally designed for you to straight up fight the shabitos. In one of Taemin's chapters, you have to find and incapacitate a specific shabito. In order to get to her, you have to get past the group of shabitos, which you have to kill. Like seriously, there isn't any way around it. I feel like Team Siren couldn't really think of anything to make these guys more threatening than their default variation except giving them guns. Aside from the weapons, the characters themselves actually have different physical abilities based on their age and gender. The adult males do slow 180-degree turns but can climb high ledges. The adult females do fast 180-degree turns but cannot climb high ledges. It's obvious that child characters are going to be weaker than adults. We've seen it a million times. The game throws in a mission where you take control of either a younger or a less experienced figure and have to solve a puzzle without doing anything that the actual protagonist would have done. So here in Siren, the child characters cannot do fast 180-degree turns, cannot climb high ledges, cannot fight at all, and have very low stamina. Great, I'm sure those missions are going to be really enjoyable. Even with all these layers of difficulty, you can learn to handle yourself fine if you actually plan ahead and execute properly. And this is where the game throws in escort missions.
I hate this place.
These escort missions get so annoying that they genuinely made me think of Siren as a second job, not a video game to relax. I used to say I didn't like Resident Evil 4's escort system that had Ashley glued to the back of Leon, but oh boy do I wish Siren had that exact same mechanic. Your escortee often struggles to keep up with you. You have to go slow for them to not get lost, because if they do, they won't tell you or make any sound. You just turn around after 45 minutes of trying to beat the level only to see that, oh, they're gone. And the only way to find them again is to, of course, sidejack them and see where they are. But don't worry, it almost never gets to that. Usually when you lose them, Escobar finds them and kills them, because not only will they not defend themselves, they will not run. They usually take multiple hits to die, but sometimes they're children and they take no hits. The moment Escobar slightly gets close to them, they just give up. Oh, and friendly warning, you can beat your escortee to death too. Ah! Usually you have a weapon to protect them, but in some levels, even you don't have a weapon. You have to escort another character without either of you getting spotted, because neither of you can fight back, and they cannot keep up with you to escape either. But to their credit, they didn't just expect you to go extremely slow, they also give you the necessary tools. You have full control over what your escortee does as long as they are close to you. You can get them to run away if a Shibido is after you, though you have to search around and find them afterwards. You can ask them to hide in a nearby area or even in a specific hiding spot. You can also tell them to stay stationary until you come back. Aside from the escort mechanics, I found a specific escortee very interesting. One of the side characters, named Miyako, is a blind girl. Originally, Kyoya finds her grieving the death of her dog because she was dependent on it to see through its eyes. Throughout her escort missions, she will sidejack you and see through your eyes. You can also sidejack her, but yeah, obviously. You have to be extra slow for her to not lose you, and also look at her frequently so she can find herself. Whenever she can't locate where she is, she will remind you.
I can't see. Look at me properly.
Even though this makes her escort missions even more difficult compared to the rest, it also makes them much more unique. Here's when things get personal. It is personal! On top of every layer of difficulty I just told you, I personally had to face even another challenge. I know I showed the PS2 in the video, but
I lied.
I'm actually using an emulator to get a better picture than a capture card. In the third mission of the game, you take control of Kei Makino, or the priest if your TikTok attention span has failed you a few minutes ago. And the fog in this mission was just insane. You genuinely couldn't see anything unless you hugged the walls. Sidejacking the enemies also didn't help much since you couldn't tell where they are. At first, I thought this is just a design choice for this specific level. You have to escape without being able to see as much as you normally would. So I tried. Again. And again. This is f***ing impossible. So I looked up a walkthrough, and wouldn't you know it, this is an emulation issue. It's actually not supposed to look this foggy. Now, I figured that it's just specific to this level, because the game was just fine till now. And if I were to just follow a guide step by step and get past it, it would be smooth sailing. It took me an entire day to get past this one level with a guide. Let's go. Let's go. Let's f***ing go. That celebration, however, did not last long, as I realized that the next level also has the same issue. I tried everything you can think of, changing BIOS, changing ROM, changing every single emulation and encoder setting you can think of, and you know what fixed it? Just pressing F9, which apparently changes the game into software mode. So the next time you had an issue with your PC, before looking up a solution, just press every button on your keyboard. Now, remember when I told you that this game didn't sell well? I'm pretty sure it's because no one could beat Siren without a guide. Gentlemen and ladies, I am about to present to you the most confusing video game system I have ever seen. Keep in mind that the game does not explain anything I'm going to describe to you. After you beat the first few levels, the game doesn't progress anymore. It just brings you back to a level you have already done. But this time, it'll give you a second mission, which you have to do in order to unlock new stages. Because later on, one of the characters is going to end up in the location of those missions, and they're going to either need a specific item that was left or a new route which has been opened by the last character that was there should they do the second mission. In simpler terms, the first mission is to just progress, but the second mission is the canonical ending which you need in order to, again, well, progress. I told you it's confusing. The problem is, unlike the first missions, which was very straightforward, like reach a specific road or incapacitate a specific enemy, which you could easily identify using the map, the second missions are very unclear. For example, in Nyoko's first level, your primary mission is to just reach a specific point in the level. When the game brings you back for the second mission, now it needs you to reach that specific road again, but this time after defeating every Shibito, which is way too broad of a task. I already know these Shibitos cannot die, so what do you mean exactly by defeating them? Do I have to incapacitate all of them quickly and then leave when they're all down? Do I have to incapacitate each of them once and it wouldn't matter if they got up? Or would the second mission not be accomplished if one of them was to get up before I left? This is exactly how these secondary missions are. This vague, this nonsense. Accomplishing these secondary missions would then branch you off to another new mission instead of the one it would had you completed the first one. And the missions it branches off to are completely unrelated. To make it even worse, some secondary missions have requirements that have to be met in an earlier, completely unrelated level for them to be available. Take one of Shiro's levels for example. The primary mission here is to reach a specific road while escorting Risa. The secondary mission is to get an ID card. You don't know where this card is, but if you pay very close attention, you can sidejack a Shibito eating Japan's most delicious cuisine, and would you look at that, the ID is in his right hand. So I figured, hey, I got a hammer, I'll just go in the room and beat him. Well, you know, I did have a hammer, but he had a gun. It very soon became clear that there is no way I can get into this room without getting shot. So I have to get him to come out. I spent hours looking everywhere in this level trying to not use a guide, but I found nothing. Because there is nothing to solve this puzzle in this level. The requirement for this second mission is in a completely unrelated K level. But even if I did tell you which level it was, you still would not be able to solve this puzzle. In one of K's levels, the primary mission is to reach point B and escape the area. The secondary mission is to find Hisako Yao's whale. None of these have anything to do with Shiro, but there is a side task you have to do. You have to find an abandoned house that has a radio in it. On a wall near the house are 4 numbers. You have to put those in the radio frequency and you will hear a voice channel that tells you 4 digits.
3, 2, 1.
These 4 digits are the password to a shack's padlock. In the shack, you will find a face towel. You will then have to wet the face towel in the sink, put it in the freezer next to the room that has the Shibito with the ID card in it in future. And also, plug the freezer in. Don't forget that because I once did. Then in Shiro's level, he will find the frozen towel, put it on a gap between room furniture with the piggy bank on it. Then leave the room and wait for the towel to unfreeze and fall for the piggy bank to break, which will draw the attention of the Shibito and get him to come out of the room. And then you can go in through the back door and get the ID. How the f was anyone supposed to solve this without a guide? And keep in mind, these characters cannot see in the future. They're just doing this for no fucking reason. Kei just randomly decided that instead of leaving the area right away, he has to go find a towel in a locked shack and make it wet and frozen because someone might have to draw a Shibito out of this room by placing a piggy bank on it in the future. And this isn't even the worst one. Sometimes there is an item in the area that you have to find, but you cannot get it. You have to get your Escort for T to find it. How? Well, obviously ask them to hide in a completely random spot of the whole level so that by chance they'll find that item and bring it to you. What? Dude, if you don't want me to finish your game, just say it. Well, they actually did. They told us they didn't want us to beat the game alone. When Keiichiro Toyama was told that his game would have probably sold better if it wasn't so confusing and hard, he responded by saying that the vagueness of the game was intentional. Team Siren wanted the solving of the game's puzzles to be a global effort, with people around the world constantly discussing the clues they have discovered and putting the pieces they have found together online. It didn't, however, go as planned, and people instead just gave up trying to beat the game. According to my script, this is the part where I'm supposed to tell you that you should still play Siren despite its difficulty and vagueness and that it's a misunderstood, unique masterpiece. But no, I don't think you should play Siren, unless you're looking for an unfair challenge and don't care if you don't have fun while playing. Because that's exactly how I felt throughout the whole game. For me, this game was like an unfinished story from my childhood. A kind of beast that I did not conquer or a goal that I didn't achieve. I always knew Siren existed, I was just too scared to play it as a child. And now that I grew brave enough to pick up the controller instead of watching my cousins play it from the corner of my eyes, I was no longer scared, I was just annoyed. Before we finish, it turns out you guys really like watching my videos and not subscribing. Why would you do this? I am the type of person who would let you have the last slice of pizza, so please, subscribe! Channel memberships are available for just $1 a month. Support the channel and gain access to exclusive perks. Also, one last thing, do check out my Discord server and stop by to chill with my awesome viewers, and in case you still haven't clicked off, we'll most likely check the sequel eventually as well, so I'll be seeing you soon.